Of all trade deals, we'll have to see. I mean, again, the instincts are right that China does engage in theft and coercive appropriation of intellectual property. Whether the solutions will come out will solve those problems, you don't know. Because the problem is it's very easy for me to slap a tariff on Chinese products. Whether they open their markets up and cease the theft of intellectual property, that's something that will play out over months and months. We won't know whether that's effective for a while. And the Chinese can always say, "Oh yes, we're opening this market up," but they've got lots of subtle ways of preventing that from actually being executed. Their exports to us are a much larger share of their GDP than our exports to China. Okay, our exports to China are less than 1% of our total GDP, and our exports to China, because the whole problem, we're about half of what they export to us. So yeah, we have the leverage there. The problem is that it's imposing pain on our consumers to exercise that leverage. But the biggest thing about that Trump is, and we'll see how it plays out. Trump is focusing on the trade imbalance with China, and the trade imbalance with China is a result of the fact that we do not save enough to fund our investment, and the government is the biggest culprit. The government deficit is the biggest contributor to the trade deficit we have with the rest of the world, and particularly with China. So you can't solve that, and you can do something about the theft of intellectual property and the lack of openness in Chinese markets, but you have to focus on those resolutely. What I worry about is focusing on this trade imbalance is just the wrong objective for trade negotiations. The objective should be somebody who monitors if we negotiate a deal in which they agree to put some restraint on the transfer of intellectual property, they agree to open their markets to in ways that are not open now, that somebody in the U.S. is monitoring that and delivering, making sure that China delivers on those promises. We're at full employment, all right, so this is going to, consumers going to pay for it, okay, and it's going to drive up, make us uncompetitive in lots of other areas. Think about the steel tariffs we put in place. That just ripples through, makes cars more expensive, makes all the other things that are made with steel more expensive as well. So Canada, Mexico, and U.S. have basically integrated economies, particularly in manufacturing of something like cars. So we're manufacturing parts, shipping them to Mexico. Canada's manufacturing parts, shipping them to the United States and Mexico. And so a tariff on cars from Mexico back to the U.S. is going to have a ripple effect on manufacture of parts in the United States. It's going to reduce demand for those parts and hurt probably employment and sales of those cars. I think the problem is because we're so integrated, it's very difficult to figure out precisely what's going to happen if we put a tariff or block some part of that trade network. So I think the other thing to think about in terms of car tariffs is we've just negotiated a free trade agreement with Mexico and Canada as a successor to NAFTA, and I don't know how you can slap tariffs on Mexican cars that are consistent with the agreement we've just negotiated.